met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
just don't know where that baby of mine.
Just south of Seneca Lake, amidst the rolling vineyards and woodlands in upstate New York's Finger Lakes region, sits a shrine of American motorsport. Watkins Glen International is more than just a racetrack. It's the birthplace of post-war road racing in North America, a worthy test of some of the best drivers to ever sit in a race car. Today, the Glen hosts the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series, as well as a 6-hour crown jewel of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, SCCA Pro and Amateur Racing, ARCA Menard Series, and SVRA Vintage Racing. Over the years, the Glen has been lengthened once and continually upgraded, and a lap around today's Grand Prix circuit still incorporates much of the original layout. The first turn is known as the 90, a right-hander and a good place to pass, then it's up towards the S's, a series of 3 fast sweeping apexes leading onto the back straight. The cars reach their top speed here before hard braking before the bus stop at the end of the straight. Here the track deviates from its original circuit downhill to the left-hand laces. Then the short chute into the right-hander named the toe. A banked uphill hairpin to another straightaway down into another right turn called the heel. Then it's up to the quick turn 9 where the boot rejoins the original circuit, tricky because it's off camber. Followed by the even quicker turn number 10, an almost flat-out left-hander. The final corner, turn 11, it's another fast right-hander that leads out onto the main straight. Racing first came to the Glen in 1948 in the form of the Watkins Glen Grand Prix, an SCCA-sanctioned event that ran on a more than 6-mile course over the back roads of town in what is now a state park. The success of that event eventually led to the construction of a more permanent facility, the resulting product a little more than a third in length of the original street circuit. In 1957, the track hosted its first race. Oddly enough, a NASCAR Grand National Series event, won by Buck Baker over Fireball Roberts. The following year, Formula Libre showed up, and not long after that, Watkins Glen hit the big time. In 1961, Formula One came to the little town by the lake, bringing with it some of the most legendary names in motorsports. For the next 2 decades, the home of the U.S. Grand Prix was Watkins Glen. The early 80s saw some tough times for the Glen. F1 held its last race there in 1980, and it was closed to all but spectator-free SCCA meets for 2 years. The track would soon recover under new ownership. In 1986, NASCAR's Top Series returned to the Glen, and with it, a whole new renaissance for the track began. Tonight, we're road racing. It's the final round of the PFR Sports Car Championship, and it's next on HBR TV. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Steve Singer with HBR TV, joined in the broadcast booth by Zach Millett. How you doing, Zach?
Hey, Steve. How we doing, man?
I'm excited, man. We just got back from the Glen here a week or 2 ago from the NASCAR event, going back in a couple of days for the vintage races. But before we can do any of that, we got to wrap up the season here in the PFR Sports Car Championship. And here we are at Watkins Glen. It's a 90-minute sprint here tonight instead of the typical 60. Double points also on the line. Before we get too deep into points, though, qualifying already underway with about 6 minutes remaining. But let's get to the race details. It's 77-degree air temperature here, 57% humidity, rather comfortable. Cloudy skies, 7-mile-per-hour breeze. It's just a perfect day for racing here at the circuit, and I think we're going to have a good one here tonight. A good, strong field of cars. Let's go down trackside and see where everything is stacking out. Before we do that, though, let's take a look at the current point standings. Coming into tonight, LMP2 category, Terry Crouch leads. Oh, of course, it's not displaying properly. Well, we'll try that here in just a moment. In the meantime, enjoy some of this qualifying action out on the circuit. Lee Tucker. Again, 3 laps or 15 minutes, whichever comes first. We'll try and get these point standings to reload. We had them queued up and ready to rock, but some technical difficulties to start the broadcast. No worries. We got them all here ready to rock and roll. So there it is. Still not showing. Wonderful. We're going to give us one more chance here. We're not doing anything different than we've done all season long. So, Zach, I know you've got somewhat limited experience in these sports cars here at the Glen. What is the secret, really the key to get around a place like this, whether it be a GT car or even an LMP2 that you've got some laps in?
And it seems like consistency is everything. You know, you get a little too far over any of these rumble strips and touch any of that grass, it's going to send you for a big ride, ruin your race. And it's just so easy to do at a place like this. To hit your marks perfectly, man, you really got to be spot on.
And we finally got the points fixed here, so let's take a look at it. LMP2 points coming into tonight. This is after the two drops. Some big shakeup going on, but at Terry Crouch, a 13.62 overflow Doms. Pretty tight race here. That one can certainly change hands. Then Chris Generelli, third. Sean Roberts, Brandon Domain, James Koulibaly, Chris Pio, Kevin Blue, Alec Vorotnik, Ryan Flanagan, your top 10. Then we'll switch over to the GT category. Fastest or best so far, Dave Seitz, 13.28, his points total. Brian Zinn, second. Josh Heggie, Daniel Clark, Rob Campbell. That's your top 5. Then it's Rob Henry, Nick Matthews, Nick Batista, Joe Tucker, and Mike Hamlin. So it looks like everyone's just about wrapped up here. We are going to take another quick break just to double check everything we've got here on the technical side of things. Cross our T's, dot our I's. We want to miss any of this race here. So stand by, folks. We'll be back after this.
I met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Back at Watkins Glen International for the final race of the season, the PFR Sports Car Championship, round number 12. Let's take a look at our starting grid. On the pole position with a lap time of 1 minute 30.949, it's Flo Doms. Outside front row, Chris Generelli, about 6/10 shy, but he puts it on the outside front row. Terry Crouch is going to start in the third spot. Sean Roberts to his outside, the number 66, is going to start in the fourth position. Fifth starter, Kevin Blue with Lone Star Racing. Now he's a PFR SimSport guy these days. Brandon Domain rolls P6. Seventh is Andy Spicer. Eighth starter is going to be Lee O. Tucker. And last in LMP, James Coulibaly. On the pole position in GT, it's going to be Kevin Burrows with TLDR SimSport. Starting second, it's Dave Seats. Mike Hamlin will roll in the third spot. Fourth goes to Brian Zinn. Fifth starter is Daniel Klar. Sixth in GT, Josh Heggie. Seventh is Mike Piazza. Eighth is Rob Henry. Ninth starter is going to be Nick Matthews. 10th goes to Drew Prale. 11th starter, Dalton Powell. 12th, Jesse Redding. Again, this is in class. 13th starter, Drew Hopkins. 14th will be Joe Tucker. Nick Batista is going to start in the 15th spot. And 16th and last on the grid, Chris Goins. Not indicative of what he typically runs here at the Glen, but keep an eye on the number 41 to make his way up through the field. That's your starting grid for Watkins Glen as we get ready to go racing in just a moment or two. Field still sits here on the grid, getting ready to start rolling here. One pace lap. It's again 3.34 miles around Watkins Glen International, so it'll take some time, but that's okay.
But just give us a little more time to admire this place.
Well, there's always that. Again, this season brought to you by Rich DPC, certainly a primary sponsor here in the PFR Sports Car Championship. If you're in need of a brand new, super fast gaming PC, check those guys out. Well, Zach, it's the last race of the season. We know what time it is, though. Time to make a pick.
Man, this usually doesn't turn out too great for me or who I pick, so, man, I don't know. I almost feel guilty picking anybody.
All right, well, if you're not going to get off the pot here, I'm going to say
Flo Doms.
Terry Crouch.
Oh, I like it. I mean, what a rivalry. That's the perfect pick for the finale.
Again, a 90-minute race. There's no win penalties. There's time. Well, there's time to make up ground. There's time to make mistakes.
And honestly, I like them both. I mean, it's really hard to make a choice between the two of them. But there's a lot of other guys that can pull the win out here. We've seen it in the past. These guys get battling and, maybe get into each other, and that's all it'll take.
Well, and Chris Generelli, too. I mean, he's putting it on the front row here, out-qualifying Terry Crouch. Haven't really seen that much this season. It's usually been the top two guys in qualifying are usually the TLDR SimSport drivers, the Terry Crouch or Flo Doms. And Elliot Hellier not here this week. Ran the LMP last week. Was running the GT car for most of the season, but not here at all, unfortunately.
That's a shame, too, because he is fast.
Field working down into the toe of the boot. One of the best places in motorsports to try and watch a race in person. Great angles. The infield of the track there elevated above the racetrack, except for here. The racetrack's a little higher, unless you're on the outside of the circuit, driver's left. Another good spot. When we come back down the hill again, this is into the heel of the boot. And they call it the heel, really, because if you look at the track from overhead, the boot section of the track is shaped, well, like a boot. You follow it down, you've got the laces coming down, you've got the shank, then you've got the toe, then you've got the heel coming down turn 8 effectively, and then back up to the top turn 9 where it rejoins the original circuit. Side note, my pick for GT is Kevin Burrows.
Oh, man.
Gotcha.
I've got to go with the old Quattro, man. Dave Seats. Let's do it.
He's in a Mercedes, though, so.
Yeah, he's kind of a traitor at that point, but I'll forgive him.
It's still German. It's fine.
Still German, yeah, same family.
Green flag.
Green flag in the air against staggered start. LMP2 up to speed. GT working out of 11. Kind of an ugly start, though. The guys are scattered all over the racetrack even before they get to the line. LMP gets through no problem. GT down into turn number 1. Up through the S's. The LMP car's already starting to pull away from GT traffic.
Ooh, here we go. The GT3 cars getting loose up the hill there.
Flo Doms with the race lead over Terry Crouch. You see how quickly these LMP2 cars start to gap the GT machines. GT cars get around here pretty quick. It's usually about a minute 43, I guess, is a really good time. 42 in some instances, but minute 30 for the LMP2 cars. Already working out at turn 11. Dave Seats out in front early over Brian Zinn, the Porsche. Flo Doms, he's got the lead over Terry Crouch, 1.1 seconds the advantage. Terry Crouch ahead of Kevin Blue. Blue up into the 3rd spot, already up 2 positions in the opening laps. Big time draft down the straightaway here. You'll notice coming down the backstretch, no bus stop, wide open. We're going old school here at the Glen as Kevin Burrows makes a look to the inside on Brian Zinn. Great place to do it, side by side, they can get it done. Hammer down here to exit the corner, then back down the hill into the laces. A tough part of the racetrack. If you get this wrong, there's not a whole lot of runoff. You're gonna be in trouble quick. Zinn battles back with the preferred lane, and he goes wide. There it is. Burrows gets into the Armco barrier on corner exit. Hopefully he can maintain that car, not have to pit this early. Granted, it is a little bit longer of a race.
Well, you called it there, Steve. I mean, that is a horrible place to run off the side of the track.
Yeah, it's definitely not a great place to have a problem because you don't have time to fix it. And honestly, Kevin probably would have been all right if he just lifted. The car would have turned a little bit better. Didn't want to give up the spot. Can't say that I blame him, but
Lap 2, cold tires, and man, I just hope he doesn't have any wheel damage or anything. Hopefully that car's fine.
Sean Roberts already working through some GT traffic. I don't know if Sean had a problem.
Yeah, it looked like Sean Roberts may have had a problem on lap 1 there. Maybe got loose or got into the grass or something.
Might have 2 separate instances. Let's take a look at it. Contact maybe with Chris Pio.
Ooh, little neck code there, Steve.
I don't know if it was net code or if he just got surprised by it and overcorrected, trying not to make contact. He just gets into the grass there, and it looks like he may have had another issue after the. Oh, yeah, here we go.
Oh, yeah. Big one here.
This is up top of the hill, exiting the boot.
Tags him again.
More contact.
Got the wall there afterwards, too. That's a tough first lap here for Sean Roberts.
Tough angle on it here.
See if it's maybe Sean just trying to make time back up after the first mistake there. Oh, here we go. That's a good angle.
Just trying to get a good look at it. There we go. All right, so we'll back this one up and watch it. Coming up the hill.
Oh, look at
2
that.
GT cars coming together, and it sends the BMW into the 66. But again, Roberts was back there with these GT cars because of that off-track he had in the carousel. Sean Roberts back in the 11th position overall. He is effectively last in LMP. In fact, we'll try and get that squared away too. The timing tower not separating the cars as far as the classes are concerned. We'll see if we can get that righted for everybody.
Ooh. Oh,
Roberts
no,
in the
Sean.
fence again. Saw that one happen live.
I got a feeling Sean's not going to be too happy after the start of this race.
Flo Doms has had a problem on the track as well. He is listed as one lap down, 25th position, and not moving on the track and out of the session, it appears. I can't even get him to pop up here. Terry Crouch has taken over the top spot. Flo Doms off track. Let's take a look at it. This is turn 10. Gets wide. Oh, gets to the right side of the BMW. That same BMW that was in the incident with Sean Roberts. Massive impact for Flo Doms. His race is done.
Wow, good heads up driving by Terry there to miss both cars. Holy cow.
Terry's a great driver, but I think that was a lot of luck, too. I want to see this one here a little bit differently. We'll go full speed from the drone.
Man.
Yeah, I want to try and jump on board here with Terry Crouch as well. Watch that from his perspective.
Yeah.
Full speed here.
Holy cow, Terry. Well, Terry's wide awake now.
Yeah, blood pressure is definitely up for the number 59 driver.
Oh, man. Dave Seats, be careful out there. One of my picks. The curse continues.
Seats continues to lead, but he's got Sean Roberts in behind. He's had a very interesting handful of laps here to start this race. Sean Roberts, that is. Seats is going to give him a wide berth up through the S's and hope that the 66 just starts to pull away. Again, those of you watching on YouTube, we are streaming much higher definition, higher resolution than we have been in the past. We were 1080p at 60 frames, now we're 1440, just shy of 4K. Makes things nice and pretty for you. But with that, make sure that you're on solid internet, good Wi-Fi for that maximum experience. If you're starting to get things nice and pixelated and it's starting to stutter on you, you may need to drop your quality or increase your internet speed, one or the other. You have those options within your YouTube browser to change that and knock things down a bit so you can view it as it's supposed to be. Dave Seats still in front of Brian Zinn. About 9/10 ahead, almost a full second. Josh Heggie in third. Kevin Burrows has slipped back to P4. Again, likely sustaining some damage there in the exit of the laces. Oh, Sean Roberts off the pace again. What happened to Sean? More issues. This is reminding me of Daytona last season all over again. Oh, left front's been out. He's got a big-time problem. Left front toe link broken. He's just going to tow it.
He's going to tow back, and we'll see if he uses that fast repair and just comes back out, or...
This is out of turn 10 just a moment ago. I don't know. My guess is that Sean might be running too little downforce. I know that car is going to be a lot faster down the straightaways trimmed out, but you see just a tank slap and just drives it into the safer barrier out of turn 11. Chaos for the 66 to start this race.
You hate to see it.
Terry Crouch still out in front now, 2.2 seconds ahead of Kevin Blue. Chris Drenarelli has slipped back to P3.
And I tell you, Steve, I just checked out the Twitch live stream of Flo Doms on that last accident.
Yeah.
Man, what an impact. I mean, you could see the entire base shake when he hit that wall. That was just incredible.
Yeah, definitely a big-time hit for Flo Doms. Again, just be glad that this is a sim. Kevin Blue having a solid run so far, just about 11 minutes in here at the Glen. Kevin Blue started in the 5th position in LMP2. He's worked himself into that 2nd spot right away. Remember, Chris Generelli started outside front row with Flo Doms on pole.
I think Kevin Blue likes this place too, Steve. I mean, look at that last lap time. He actually outran Terry Crouch by 2.5 tenths there. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, last lap he was a little bit faster, but the best lap overall for Terry Crouch, it's a minute 32.88 to Kevin Blue's minute 33.66.
Pretty big difference there.
Kevin working around some lap traffic. It's Dalton Powell in the Mercedes. Oh, big correction for Blue up the top of the toe there. That is a very difficult corner, especially if you get too wide there. Especially if you get the left sides in the grass, you'll almost invariably get into that tire pack on the opposite driver's right in front of the Armco. Did a good job getting through there.
Yeah, it certainly made him smile on his screen. Boy, that must have been tough to catch. These cars are not easy to catch like that.
Dalton Powell spun backwards in the heel of the boot, still sits there in the runoff, waits for traffic to go on by.
That's a tough turn, too. We watched a pretty big incident there live with the Porsches.
Yeah, that actually almost turned into a major incident because one Porsche got off the track, gets into the barrier, and then they sent the safety vehicles out on the track, and I don't know if the flaggers didn't flag it properly or if the drivers didn't see the flaggers because they had to lock it up to avoid making contact with the safety vehicles in that incident. Could have been a whole lot worse as guys were getting out of those trucks.
Yeah, and you think about how low these race cars really are compared to the Armco. I mean, most of these corners are pretty darn blind.
One thing that they did, and the track's actually a lot better than it once was. When IndyCar came back, I want to say it was back 2005, there was a lot of stipulations about sight lines and fencing. You see this fencing here on driver's right coming down the hill into the toe. That was all added for IndyCar. The fencing here driver's left on corner exit. You see it in just a moment. There it is now. That was all added for IndyCar. We'll see it again here as we get back towards the S's. They moved the Armco back quite a bit to improve some sight lines. Some major changes were made to this facility here just to bring IndyCar back, and that's going back, well, surprisingly enough, almost 20 years ago now. That new infrastructure, new fencing, I guess you could say, was installed. I remember back in the day, none of that catch fence was there opposite the guardrails. That was all wide open to the point where I do remember an ARCA series. It was a Busch North race, actually, where some cars were able to get up over the rail. If it had happened about 50 to 100 feet sooner, they would have jumped over the rail and down onto basically the infield access road. That accident happening just past that first tunnel. If you're familiar with the racetrack, you come in the main gate, gate 2, and then to drive into the infield of the racetrack, you go under the racetrack through a big tunnel. That accident was right there. The car almost went over and down onto the access road. It would have been about a 30, 40-foot drop. Luckily, it didn't happen. If you guys want to see that replay, check it out on YouTube. Just type in Busch North Crash Watkins Glen. You'll be able to find it.
Might have to do that right now, Steve. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen that one.
It was a mess. It was just, I think it was just a couple of laps into the race, and they all wanted it up in the S's, and it just got nasty. Of course, we talk about that with Kevin Blue rolling through the S's. We don't even point it out, but you guys get the idea. Kevin Blue still trying to get through some traffic in the GT. He's working his way up through the GT leaders here. He just goes around. I think that might have been Kevin Burrows. Then it's Brian Zinn. He's flashing to get around here in turn 10, the left-hander. And it's wide open throttle for sure for the LMPs. I don't know if GTs are going to be able to hang through there wide open. Some may not. Meanwhile, Terry Crouch continues to lead, only a 2.1 second advantage over Kevin Blue. Kevin doing a great job to hang with the 59, but again, strategy is going to come into play here tonight. Got to pay attention to it. Things will be a little bit different. We talked about it in the open. It's not a 60-minute race here tonight. It's also not standard points. It's double points, and it's 90 minutes. They have maximum fuel capacities on board, so that's going to change the handling characteristics on these cars as well. And they have unlimited tire sets because really, you're not going to need a whole lot. These cars are effectively endurance cars. The tires are set up to go quite a ways, and you can change them while fueling, but it does take some extra time. Guys may opt to go an extra set or go a stint without changing those tires just to gain the track position, but how much grip and how much lap time you're going to sacrifice in doing that, that's what we're going to have to find out. Again, high-speed corners, lots of braking, lots of lateral G-load on these tires. They may opt to take them. We'll see.
Yeah, it really opens the strategy being a lot longer race.
Also, we mentioned early about Flo Doms and that massive wreck. Exit at turn 10, entrance to turn 11. He did jump in the stream chat. Says, thanks for the great broadcast, fellas. I'll talk to you again one day. Take it easy. Yeah, Flo, we're certainly not done hearing from you. We can't get rid of Terry, so I don't think we're going to get rid of you. So don't worry about that. We'll see you again, my friend.
Yeah, I hope so. He's a hell of a racer, man. He's definitely got pace pretty much everywhere we go. So
without a doubt,
it was fun watching these guys. It's awesome. These TLDR guys are just wicked fast.
And it doesn't matter what they're in either. We've seen them be fast, and even in the truck series. I mean, Terry Crouch, admittedly, he's done a lot of oval racing, but that was really early on in his iRacing career, so to speak. Jumped into the road course side of things. It's a lot more technical. It's more up his alley, but he did try his hand running some races with Noah Bull, even some LSR races. He did perform well. Maybe not up to his standards, which is why he didn't continue it, but he is truly quick in just about everything he sets down into.
Well, yeah, I remember that season very well, and he kept getting better and better and better. It was really incredible to see.
You know, talk about incredible and how precise he is. I just want to back this up here. Go slow-mo here through the toe. Watch how precise he is in keeping the left side of that car off the grass, but using all of the available racetrack. Watch right here.
Look at that. And he's wide open here, folks.
Yep. Just the rounded lip of the tire is over the grass, but not touching it.
And I mean, if you're inches more, just an inch more towards that grass, that car's coming right around.
Without a doubt, especially there. It's so difficult to not spin the car out unless you realize, yeah, I'm going to be in the grass here. You have to immediately lift. And honestly, keep the wheel straight. Do not try and correct it. And it'll straighten itself out, especially in that corner. Again, that's just personal experience. Not so much with this particular car, but whether it's in a GT car, even a late model stock. I've turned laps here on the long course just for fun. Man, Terry's bottoming out in the middle of the straightaway.
Yeah, you know, I was going to ask you about that too, Steve. I don't remember what cars.
It was the
I was
Lotus.
racing. It was the Lotus. Yep. Glad you remember that.
Yeah, it was the Retro Kart series that we ran a couple of races in, and we found that for whatever reason on the backstretch we would lose speed, and we couldn't figure out why, but we asked, and guys were saying, yeah, the car's bottoming out.
Yeah, and it seemed like common knowledge, and I mean, slowing down big time, like 10 mile an hour slowdown. And I mean, you could feel it. It kind of feels like it's bottoming out no matter what lane you're in, but yeah, the lane difference was incredible.
I'm sure ride heights have something to do with it, of course, but if you sacrifice a little bit there, or just find the place where the backstretch isn't so bumpy, you can probably continue with the lower ride heights. Maybe it helps you everywhere else on the racetrack. Again, at high speed down the backstretch, these guys are wide open as soon as they get out of turn one, and I think all the way up the hill through the S's before they get to turn 5, the carousel, they do not lift. So with that high speed, again, they're running Well, they're 100.5 before they even make it to start finish here. We'll look at it again here as they get down the backstretch, but that car's loaded up with downforce. It's pushing the chassis down into the ground. It sometimes will scrape, as you see it happening there with the exit curbing there in turn 1. But yeah, he's wide open right now. Terry Crouch, 160 miles an hour. 165. 170, which is about the max the NASCAR Cup Series gets to. 174 miles an hour. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised it's that low. I would have expected it to be higher, especially without the bus stop.
Well, and I think that's probably a lot to do with the setup, too. I bet you a low downforce setup, you're hitting 180 all day.
Yeah, Terry might have some more downforce built into the car just so he can be more aggressive in the corners, knowing he's got pace. But that's the trade-off, too. You talk about guys that are capable. I mean, Terry, I'm sure, is capable, but they're more comfortable running a very low downforce setup just to gain that straightaway speed. You do sacrifice it in the corners.
You know, I'd love to ask Terry maybe after the race, you know, how many laps he turned with each different setup to see where the little advantages were, you know.
Well, we go back to, and we've talked about it a bit here this season, just given that we did run some races. We're really the 24 Hours of Daytona, the iRacing official event earlier in the season. Terry was one of our drivers in that race, along with Kevin Burrows and Brett Guzik. Brett drives over in the LSR Truck Series currently, but very good on road courses as well. And I want to say we went through probably 6 to 8 different setups before we landed on one that we liked. Ultimately, it was a combination of a Mark Thomas built setup for us for, I think it was the Mercedes at the time, that we ended up keeping. But there was a lot that we tried through multiple setup shops, whether it was VRS or others. Again, Mark Thomas having some real world experience in doing that, so we had him to get this thing set up for us, and it worked out well. Again, we ended up with a podium finish in that event.
And it's so hard to find somebody that is that good with tuning cars. You just tell him what you want. You want it to feel a little softer, maybe a little more top end speed, you know, any kind of little characteristic that you want. And he just, okay, got it. 10 minutes later, yeah, try this. And it's everything you could ever want it to be. Mark Thomas is that guy.
And even with that, I mean, before you even tell him what you're looking for, you say, look, you know, I want to set up for Daytona. And he'll spit out 3 or 4 right off the bat and tell you the differences between the 3 or 4 of them. Hey, this one's pretty quick, but it's a little on edge. You might want to be careful with it. This one's a little more stable. This one's a little dodgy on the brakes. You know, he tells you what to expect out of it, which I guess in some cases could be good or bad, but if you just go in blind to kind of figure out the race car on your own, that sometimes helps too.
Yeah, you get that natural feel for it for sure.
Continue to watch Dave Seats leading here in GT. I'm trying to get some of these details corrected here. We get the timing tower at least separated between classes. Trying to get this thing right as far as showing the leader in GT, the leader in LMP instead of the overall. But we'll get that squared here in a minute, I'm thinking. That's not it. That's not it.
Hey.
It's close.
Making progress here.
Well, as it stands, Dave Seats got a 2 seconds plus advantage over Josh Heggie in the second spot. Heggie in the Ferrari this week. See him there in the frame, just coming down into turn number 1. He's been fast all season. Kevin Burrows maintains the 3rd spot. Remember, he slipped as far back as 4th. First round of pit stops to come at some point soon. I'd imagine they can go 40 to 50 minutes or so on a full load of fuel, at least in GT. I'm not 100% sure on LMP how long they'll last. Maybe 38 minutes? There it is. Got it.
Beautiful.
I don't know why that switched. It's been fine most of the season without any adjustments, and all of a sudden it decided to change things up on us, but that's all right. We got our square. Well, you know what? Kevin Blue in pit lane here. We just talked about pit stops likely to be coming soon. And only 25 minutes in. This seems very early. I got to anticipate this is going to be a fuel-only stop for Kevin Blue. Remember, they started on a full fuel load at 100%. Now he's going to take tires here. Very interesting. Well, 4-tire stop for Kevin Blue. Let's watch how long this one takes once it's all said and done.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep tracking on how long this is compared to just fuel.
26.72, 4 tires, and I think they're running VP Racing fuel on these prototypes. Kevin Blue under power back up through the S's. Cold tires. Gonna have to get some heat back in those. Terry Crouch approaching some GT traffic. On a turn 9, goes to the inside of the Ferrari. It's Nick Batista, no, Dave Hopkins. Drew Hopkins, sorry. Now, if you noticed it there on the exit of, or the entrance really, the turn-in point of turn 11, Terry Crouch turning in with some grass on the racetrack. I don't know if that's going to affect the grip levels for that car or really anybody else that's driving through it. He's not technically in the grass. The grass is on the racing surface, so that may change the dynamics of how much grip you have on that initial turn-in.
Well, I imagine you question it every time you turn in and you see that grass.
Oh, 100%. So let's try to run through here. Our LMP2 class, Terry Crouch, your race leader currently. Chris Gennarelli running in the 2nd spot. Given up by Kevin Blue when he made his pit stop. Andy Spicer running in the 3rd position. Brandon Domain in the 4th spot, LMP. Again, apologies for that paint not loading correctly in the overlay, but it is what it is. Lee Tucker in 5th. James Coulibaly with the Porsche livery on board. I'm sure he's excited for tomorrow's update with iRacing when the Porsche GTP car comes out and becomes available along with the Acura. It's going to make road racing in iRacing very interesting going forward with multiple prototypes to work with. You've got the BMW, you've got the DPI, you've got the Cadillac, you got the Porsche, and now you got the Acura. You've got 4 GTP cars. Like to see the Lamborghini get scanned as well. We'll see if that comes to fruition, or even the Ferrari for that matter, but time will tell. Ferrari's usually not very willing to let people that aren't working for Ferrari get up close and personal with their race cars, especially with laser scanning and such.
Yeah, they're pretty secretive of what they've got.
In all honesty, I'm very surprised that Porsche has agreed to it. Kevin Blue still running back in the 7th spot, again completing his first pit stop of the afternoon. And Sean Roberts and Flo Doms. 9th and 10th in LMP, but out of this race it seems. Dave Seat still your race leader in GT. Josh Heggie runs 2nd. And closing in, that was a 2-second advantage just a couple of laps ago. Tires may be falling off here for Dave Seats. Might have a battle for the GT lead here before we know it. Kevin Burrows not too far back either. We got a 3-car battle here that's all drivers in contention for the race win. A little bit of right side damage still on the Kevin Burrows machine. Remember, I think it was lap 2. We got contact with the Armco barrier exiting the laces of the boot, effectively turn 6.
Yeah, Kevin Burrows actually turned a faster lap than the front 2 cars, so even with the damaged car, he's definitely got some pace tonight.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, he's got a damaged race car, but what does that mean? He's slightly off the pace. Okay, so he's burning slightly less fuel, but he's also abusing the tires slightly less than the 2 in front of him. So he's able to be more consistent, keep his lap times where they were. Well, these 2 up front are hammered down. They could be wearing out their tires.
Yeah, this really could be perfect for Kevin.
Now he gets the chance to hit pit lane here. I don't know if he's going to take the faster pair this early. Again, a longer race. It's more endurance-based than the previous races this season. It's maybe an extra half an hour, but it does make you consider, well, do I fix this damage manually, or do I just take the faster pair? Personally, given we're 31 minutes in here, if I'm Kevin Burrows, I'm going to chance it. It's the last race of the year. Let me take this faster pair, get this car back up to snuff, rather than sit there for an extra 10, 15, 20 seconds. If it was a 12 or 10 or 12, 24-hour race, yeah, okay, let's spend the time on pit road. We'll make it up over the course of the event. But it's go time. I think Kevin's got to get the faster pair done, get this thing back where it needs to be, as Peggy's going to pull down pit lane here, it looks like. So possibly the undercut at work here. Could have been Kevin Blue thinking the same thing, but maybe working this race backwards. We've talked about it so many times throughout the season, really anytime we cover a road race. Be the first driver to pit last.
Boy, it's so hard to do in a long race like this, too, to get that right.
Well, call up Jeff Bodine. He pulled it off, I think, in 97, 96 or 97. Used that strategy, worked out perfectly. He ended up taking the win in the, I want to say it was the 96 edition of the Bud at the Glen. Granted, we're talking NASCAR, but the strategy itself applies. And those guys learned from the road racers that were doing it at the time.
Boy, Bud at the Glen, that is an old name. That is awesome.
Some years, like 1992, it was the Mud at the Glen. Rain short race.
Man.
I tell you, I still to this day think Dale Earnhardt should have won that race. Instead, Kyle Petty took it.
Well, you don't hear that very often.
Nope. Some more LMP drivers in the pits. James Coulibaly, Andy Spicer. Spicer 31.08. Longer wait for fuel, which means probably took tires as well. Coulibaly 31.50, same scenario. Chris Generelli down the main straight, working through some GT traffic once again. Terry Crouch still with the race lead now, extending that lead 7.5 seconds over P2, Chris Generelli. With that, we are 33.5 minutes into this 90-minute race. We're going to step aside and get our first HBR TV break out of the way. Stay with us, folks. We'll be back after this.
I met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Glen here, 37 and a half minutes in. Chris Generelli is taking over the top spot with Terry Crouch making his pit stop. Generelli still on the racetrack here. Again, 38 minutes in. We said, well, maybe 35, 38 minutes would be about the max distance on fuel. Again, that was a bit of a guess just for the past experience, but Generelli's coming to pit lane, so we are right on the money. So Generelli from the race lead. He's got 41 seconds on Terry Crouch. Crouch's pit stop, 28:47. And Terry known for really working out the strategy here. He may have taken one tire or maybe four. Who knows?
It's definitely pretty quick, though.
Generelli into the box. He goes up on the jacks.
Cool looking car, Steve. You know what it reminds me of? Is the old rally car that Dave Mirra used to drive.
Dave Mirra.
Skeleton. Yeah.
Throwing it back.
Wicked throwback.
Detailed and all, Generelli off the jack, still waiting on fuel. 29, 30, 31, 32. It's going to be a long stop, trying to get that thing filled to the max.
Terry Crouch and Kevin Blue long gone past at this point.
But you know what? Maybe Terry Crouch short-fueled. He left as soon as it was done with the tires. It's going to be my guess. I mean, it really is no more than a guess, but it is what it is. So it looks like Generelli was the last driver in the race here to make his pit stops. Now, with that said, though, it sets him up. Let's take 38 plus 38. 72 minutes. So that gives him 18 minutes to finish the race. So he can come down, hit pit lane, maybe gamble, go fuel only. Stretch those tires to the end. So his last stop's going to be a quick one, I'm going to guess, and he's going to be the last one to do it, so he's going to take the least amount of fuel. Could still turn around for him. We'll see how this plays out. While Brian Zinn is taking over the top spot over Dave's seats. Brian's pit stop coming at lap 12, so a significant undercut. Brian's in stop was 18.2 seconds. Dave's seats 29.85. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Brian didn't change tires.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're right.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still watching, which I know you are, I can see how many are watching, jump in the stream chat, say hello, tell us where you're watching the race from, who you're cheering for, and most importantly, while you're here watching, click that like button. On the YouTube, click the like button. It certainly helps significantly. In fact, it's one of the most important things you can do for any streamer out in the YouTube land because it opens up this particular broadcast to different eyeballs. It throws things into a algorithm and gets some fresh eyes on it that may not necessarily know about it. They may just stumble across it while they're scrolling through their app on their phone or at their computer and go, oh, what's this? Oh, I like Watkins Glen, or oh, I like IMSA racing. Oh, I'm a fan of Porsches, whatever it may be. So click that like button. It really does help us out. It's free to do. You don't need to pay to do any of that. Just click it. Click it.
It's free. Just do it.
All right, enough begging by me. Zach, it's your turn.
Yeah.
Just a few minutes shy of halfway here at the Glen.
I'm going to say, as a reward, we'll listen to this Porsche rip around this track for a little bit. Everybody loves that.
Better yet, let's listen from the inside.
Yes, please.
I know they said it about Ferraris where they don't like to put radios in them because what sound do you need that's better than the sound of a Ferrari? But in this case, this Porsche, that's a close second. I can almost stretch it and say it sounds better than a Ferrari, but man, it's awfully close.
It is really close. And I mean, just listening to all the different cars go by, the uniqueness of all of them, I just love it, man. It just doesn't get any better.
Well, that's what's great about class racing, too, especially if you go into the GT categories, because it's not just, okay, LMP2, yes, they're all running relatively the same power plants. They all sound very similar. Obviously, things change when you get up to the GTP category, which they don't run here in this particular league yet. That could come in the future. We'll see. But you get different sounds. Again, the Porsche, you hear it here. You go to Dave's seats in the Mercedes. Well, let's ride on board for just a quick moment. That's a big burly V8. It almost sounds like a current NASCAR Cup Series car. Into the Ferrari, there's a different sound. BMW. And then you got the Audi and Nick Matthews.
5.2 liter V10.
So yeah, you've got some real character amongst all the race cars in the GT3 category. As much as I love prototypes, GT3 is where it's at. That's just me.
Yeah, I got to agree.
Chris Generelli, while we were talking about this crank it up moment that we stole from NASCAR, let's talk about his issues. He's had a problem out on the course. Let's see what happened. Looks like turn 11, he's already got some left front damage. The left front toe link badly damaged, trying to get it to pit road.
A great job by that BMW there to miss him.
You know, he gets it down there, and I hate doing this, but I have to do it a lot recently. The rewind here, where did he get this damage from? He's okay down into the toe.
The closer to pit road that this happens, the better.
This is up to turn 9, exiting the boot. Oh,
yeah.
so it looks like he ran up on the Ferrari, had to check up and got wide, maybe lost his sight lines, and then he panics and backs it into the Armco. Oh, almost getting clipped by the Mercedes. Got to watch that relative. So I want to back it up again here, right on board with Generelli, see how it looked from his perspective. But, man, a good afternoon, going bad awfully fast for the 19. Real time here. It's that easy.
That's the easiest thing to do, Steve, when a car's in front of you, to watch that car, and it just so happens that car in front of him went a little wide on exit, maybe grazed the wall a little bit, and followed him right into it.
That's exactly what happened. I mean, you kind of lose your sight lines when you're that close, but if the guy goes off course and you're just kind of running his tire tracks, even if it is a slower GT car, it's so easy to have that happen. And Generelli wasn't anywhere near as far off the race course as that GT car was, but it's just enough. You get the right rear there under power. You got to let a left turn into it because it's an off-camber corner, and then all of a sudden you're around and in the Armco. Again, the opposite side of that exit. There's no runoff. You're there. You're in the fence. There's nothing you can do about it.
And it's a shame for Chris, too, because it's just after pit stops. If this was a little while, later, he could have maybe played the strategy still, but hate to see it.
Well, let's play it by ear. I mean, he still has the fast repair, which he burned, so now he's good there. But does he go too wide? Oh man, I thought he was in trouble again there through the carousel.
That's another thing too, Steve. Getting back into the groove of things after something like that happens, man. That's tough.
He may have taken tires on that too, because it was a 23.5-second stop. All he really needed was the fast repair and maybe top off the fuel to the end. If anything, it's extended his fuel range. I'm curious if he can make it now. I know it was just after the pit stop, but if you work it backwards, I don't know. It's going to be close.
If he took the tires, he definitely filled it right to the brim. So,
well, without a doubt, but it's just a matter of, I don't know. I don't know if if it happened 5 minutes later, I think he'd have been in actually pretty good position to go all the way to the end, even with the damage. But because he pit after about 38 laps that first time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's
or 38
pretty
minutes.
Darn close. Boy, it's a good thing he made it back to pit road, though, and didn't have to tow. That's all the difference.
Tough to do. We saw Sean Roberts trying to turn down turn 1 with the same damage to his left front toe link broken. He decided to get it towed because that lap around, it would just have been too dangerous for him to get back without damage or risk of another incident.
And these things are hard enough to drive when nothing's broken, but when one wheel isn't turning at all, or even worse, when it's going, bouncing back and forth, man, it's hard not to, not only drive the thing back to pit road, but to stay out of the way of other cars, too.
Yeah, without a doubt. So Gennarelli now sits in 7th in LMP2. And I hate to say it, but he's in danger of going down a lap. Terry Crouch is right there behind him. "40 minutes to go. Anything could happen." He's still on the lead lap. I know we're not going to get a full course caution out of anything, but I don't know. Can't take the hats to victory lane before the race is over, so anything's still possible. Gennarelli's still got a big hole to dig out of here. Kevin Burrows still hanging back in that 3rd position, not really losing a whole lot of sight to Dave Seats. It's under a second, about 0.6 to catch P2. It's 2.4 all the way up to Brian Zinn with the race lead. Brian, though, on a very different pit strategy to these drivers. He came down pit lane lap 12. 2nd place, Dave Seats. Kevin Burrows coming down lap 22.
This is another great thing about the GT3 class itself, is it usually develops really close battles.
We really have seen that, not so much the first half of the season, but definitely in the latter stages of the season. The GT battle has really shaped up. The top 3, especially when it comes down to the end of the race, typically they're all within a second or 2 of each other. When it comes to endurance racing, that is a very tight margin. Andy Spicer running in 4th here, up 3 spots.
It's so cool, too, because, they're all different manufacturers, 1st through 4th. You got the Porsche, the Mercedes, the BMW, and then the Ferrari. It's pretty neat.
And that's one thing, too, is it's nice about the GT category is that you can try to say, all right, well, my driving style is I like to drive with a car that has a lot of oversteer. Or you NASCAR guys, it means it's loose. So I'm going to go for typically the Mercedes. Whether it's going to be fast or not, it suits my driving style. I'm comfortable in it, which typically translates to lap time, or at least consistency at the very minimum. But some guys say, I like the balance of a race car. I'm going to drive the BMW because it's great on the brakes. It handles well on the slow sections. May not have the top speed or that sleek aerodynamic capability on the straightaways, but it's just comfortable for me. Some guys stick with the Ferrari. Some guys want to drive that Audi just because of the rear engine. I don't know. There's just multiple options for multiple driving styles. What's going to be best for you? Now, when you get into a legitimate endurance race, anything over a couple hours, 6 hours and up, you got to start factoring in the driving styles of your teammates. We had a lot of that. We talked again about the Daytona 24 earlier this year. Driving style, some guys are like, I don't care, whatever it is, I'll drive it. Well, I'm just not that way. I need it to feel right for me. That's just how I am. Some guys can't necessarily do that. Then you got to kind of come up with a compromise to pick the right car for that particular event.
Yeah, and I think it was back in the 6 hours of the Glen, the first real long endurance race I did with these cars with you. And it was the first time I've ever really driven the Mercedes, and I would have never even given it a try, honestly. I think I was kind of set into the Audi at that point. So I'm really glad that we actually gave it a try. You told me to go out there, turn some laps, let me know what you think, because I like it. And yeah, it turned out, man. I'm kind of the same as you. I like that oversteer feeling. It's comfortable. So it's a long-term good race car for us.
And in all honesty, too, I had some wouldn't say necessarily success in the Audi, just for the fact I really don't run a whole lot of races these days with the broadcast schedule, but the Audi felt pretty good. It was quick, especially tracks like Daytona, but well, frankly, I'd already painted up the Mercedes, so it's like, you know, forget it. We're going to run this.
Yeah, it certainly looked good. I'm glad we used it.
Dave Steed still running in the second spot. Kevin Burrows closing in, though. He is right there.
Kevin Burrows, the machine.
See the sun starting to set here at Watkins Glen, getting into twilight hours. 35 minutes to go. And you see that Mercedes just pull that BMW down the straightaway.
Yeah, even in the draft, that BMW was just struggling to stay with this Merc.
Our drone got lost there for a moment. Found it again. It's okay.
At least it made it out of the trees.
And keep it out of the Armco. Again, I know it's frustrating on the broadcast in some instances, but man, it's an indicator of how race courses back in the day were made. They were designed to cut through the landscape, not change the landscape. And even here at the Glen these days, it's very different than it was just 20 years ago. Even during the NASCAR days, this track was lined significantly more than it is today with trees. Even up into the NASCAR course, turn 10, there was a lot of trees that they've cut down in just the last handful of years. You see them here in this sim. They're not even there in real life anymore. They're already cut down. Again, it's not because they just felt like knocking them down. A lot of it was that invasive Japanese beetle that started to kill a lot of the trees that were out there. But it's a throwback to how race courses were built back in the day. Again, this place originally laid down in the 50s and continually upgraded throughout the years. It's a world-class facility these days. It's got FIA certification. Truthfully, with minimal changes, at least to the course, Formula One could come back to this place. I don't see it happening anytime soon, but they could. They even had a representative from FIA out here at the facility after the repave, said Formula One would absolutely be able to run here. Now, it comes with a little caveat. Yes, they'd be able to run here. However, they do require garages in the pit lane. That doesn't exist right now. Is it possible? 100%. And personally, in my opinion, I think you knock down those pit terrace grandstands that are there because they're almost unusable these days because everybody in the pits, they put up their big giant war wagons, their pit boxes with their big tents, and you really can't see unless you're in the top row anyway. So take those out, put in a Formula One garage, and we're good to go. Well, that solves that problem. But you're still in the southern tier of New York State. Okay, we're not in a big metropolis, we're not in a big city. You're an hour and a half from Rochester, roughly the same to Buffalo. There's no major hotels, and honestly, Formula One, it's big money time, guys. I mean, they're running Montreal, they're running Silverstone, they're running places that have very readily access to big name hotels, and there's a lot of manpower that comes in with Formula One that they gotta have a place to stay, and I just don't see it happening. Someday maybe, but I don't know, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what that would bring to the area. You know, it would just be insane.
But going back to the design and the layout of the race course, the elevation change, you look at Formula One tracks today, what's the common denominator at most places? Flat as a pancake.
Yeah, they just come in and bulldoze a big spot, build a track, and it's done. Back with a track like this, they build it with the land. You know, look at the elevation. It's amazing.
You know, that's how they used to run their courses way back in the day. But even you look back, I mean, there's still some throwback tracks on the Formula One schedule. You look at Spa, for instance. There is significant elevation change in a place like that. You look at Zandvoort. It's very different than it used to be, but there's some elevation change. Now there's some banking involved, which is very different for Formula One these days. The ultimate example, the Nürburgring.
Oh yeah.
Elevation change up the wazoo. And back in those days, prior to fuel injection, you had to jet those carburetors for that elevation change because it needed to be leaner here or richer there. Now it's all computer programmed. You don't got to worry about it.
And just a side note here to you fellow iRacers, if you want a full pucker moment, grab that Gen 4 car, take it to the Nürburgring, and just have a blast, because that was the last 2 hours of my life enjoying that before this stream started.
Yeah, we're watching some of that too. I think, what was it, 7:09 was the best lap in the Gen 4 car?
I think it was a 7:0. Yeah, I think it was a 9. I think it was a 7:09.
So 7 minutes, 9 seconds on Nürburgring Nordschleife in the Gen 4 NASCAR Cup car. I think it was, what, a 305 gear?
No, I think I bumped it back to a 360. I think it was a 360. So, yeah, have fun.
So the Watkins Glen set up with a 360 gear. Go for it.
God be with you.
We got a battle shaping up here. Dave Seats with the race lead, but Josh Heggie inches off the back bumper. Lets off a little bit down into the carousel. We'll continue to watch this. Terry Crouch and LMP still with the race lead. Over Kevin Blue, 12 seconds the advantage. Again, this battle really hot and heavy here in GT, though.
Yeah, I think Josh Higgie's got the pace here. He's just looking for kind of a good spot to make the pass.
Heggie's last lap about 0.2 faster than Dave Seats. Kevin Burrows has slipped back a few positions. He's back in 7th. Again, pit strategy may have something to do with this here. We got another 29 minutes left in this race, which tells me we're late for another break here. Getting our final HBR TV side-by-side break done while these two go at it. We'll keep an eye on this battle as we're in break, so don't worry, you won't miss it. We'll be back after this.
I met Marco Sgarza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
I met Marco Scarza when we were doing
To cut in during the Rich DPC commercials, but Terry Crouch, the race leader, down pit lane for his final stop here with about 24 and a half minutes to go. Cleanly into the box. P2 Kevin Blue just finishes up his pit work lap 39. 29.55 was the stop for Blue. Let's see what Terry does here. Does he take tires or is it fuel only to the end? 16 seconds. 18. 20. 23, still on the jacks, drops it down, 26.45, and he's off. Should be enough fuel to get him to the end.
Yeah, quick stops from Terry Crouch tonight.
Terry Crouch back in the running here ahead of Kevin Blue. The deficit before Kevin's pit stop was about 12, 13 seconds. Now it's 18 and 8 seconds back from the race leader. Terry trying to get through some GT traffic into the laces portion of the boot. Still got a handful of you guys here watching this stream. Jump in that stream chat again. Say hello. We don't bite unless we're asked really nicely. But seriously, tell us where you're watching from. We'd like to see that. We miss our buddy Haley. I don't know if she's still out there watching. She used to tune in. I think she was in Sweden. Very late night for her on a regular basis. But come back, Haley. We miss you.
Yeah, we do miss you, Haley. Man, she was here all the time.
Every race. So Terry Crouch, 19.3 seconds, getting right up to pace on the exit. Again, took tires. He's got some heat into them now. Oh, slow car.
Ooh, somebody on the inside there, too.
Not sure if that was James Coulibaly. Went wide there in turn one.
I think it may have been to avoid something. I thought I saw a blur of a car down there.
I think it may have been Jesse Redding. He's coming up through the S's now. Let's see if we can find this here. Jesse Redding having an issue. Yeah, it might have been down into turn one. Let's get a look at it here. Yeah, I see Coulibaly right behind him. Yep, too much rear brake. Locks it up on entry.
Right turn racing machine's going to slide right around here.
Does he get the Armco? Just misses it.
Boy, good spot there for the end of pit road.
Interesting. It says Buzz the Tower Racing for Jesse Redding. He was with Right Turn Racing earlier on in the season. I'm curious what's changed there.
I think maybe Chris Gones beat him in PGA Tour 2K23 and something happened there. You see in the back of his car, it says, I brake early.
Pit stop for Josh Heggie from the second spot. Remember, he was closing the gap on Dave Seats and now trying the undercut here once again. If he takes tires, let's see if that's the case. Gets into the box clean, doesn't have to worry about backing up, but no tires for Heggie. He's going fuel only. Let's watch how long this pit stop is, enough to get him to the end. Hopefully he's got it worked out. He's almost at the point where he could have taken tires, but 18.13 seconds, the pit stop. Just enough fuel to go another 20 plus minutes.
I think that Sega throwback in the front corner, that's cool.
Back up to speed. Tires already hot. And I see Josh Heggie also with Buzz the Tower Racing. Now let's check on Dave Seats. We know he's TLDR, but it says buzz the tower for him. We know we got a glitch. So ignore that.
I think a lot of us in iRacing are really looking forward to this update.
Yeah, there we go. We'll just go with United States. Perfect.
I like it. Perfect. America.
America. Never mind.
Blank, blank.
Yeah, right. All right, so Dave Seats with the race lead here. Again, he still needs to pit. His gap back to second place now. It's Rob Henry. Henry needs to pit as well. He's also in a Mercedes. Looks like Henry's still rocking the autism awareness paint scheme. Josh Heggie not too far behind.
This guy's roughly 40 seconds behind Dave's seat, so that final pit stop, it'd be pretty interesting to see how long he's going to be on that pit road for.
Yeah, and Terry Crouch doesn't like my stance on this, and he could be right, and maybe I'm just too dumb to work out the math, but with Josh Heggie back 41 plus seconds, his pit stop was 49.65 seconds if you count the time of pit entry to pit exit. Okay, so his pit stop was 18:13, his pit lane time was 49:65, and that counts as his pit stop, okay?
Absolutely.
So if Dave Seats comes down and he spends 49 seconds in the pits, in theory, Heggie would be able to take the race lead here, knowing that he's already stopped. Now, the point that Terry Crouch has made to me in the past is that, well, it's kind of inaccurate because the cars are all still moving. It's not a perfect representation of how much time you spend in the pits relative to the car that's still on the racetrack. And I get that. But it's close. Because we've seen it work out in the past where those numbers are tight like they are currently. And then the next driver that needs to pit comes down pit road, has a similar pit lane time, but still comes out with the race lead, but not by much. So it's relative to an extent. We'll keep that in mind here as Dave Seats still needs to make his pit stop. Now, if he doesn't take tires on that stop, he's going to take a little bit less fuel, so it's likely to be a faster stop than what Heggie had. We'll see if it pans out.
Well, I think if Heggie can stay to the bumper to this Mercedes here, he's going to take the move to turn one. It's kind of your best spot to make the move, but I don't know if he's close enough.
Henry was about a full second slower than Heggie that last lap. Let's see if it was better this time. It's about the same again. Oh, that's best lap. I'm looking at the wrong category again. So much data, I can't even look at the right ones.
It's a beautiful thing, though.
So Henry ran a 44.5 to 43.8. Oh, it's close, but Heggie is definitely faster. But again, you see that Mercedes just pulling a lot of these cars. We saw Dave Seats driving away from the BMW on the backstretch, and now you see Henry pulling away from Heggie on the backstretch. Not by a ton, but enough. Again,
that's kind of...
Go ahead, Zach.
That's kind of where these cars even out, because you see this Ferrari in the tighter sections, high-speed corners, especially right here, these tight corners are going to be a little quicker than the Mercedes, but that Mercedes does have that top-end speed.
Oh, trouble for Kevin Blue. Slow out of the boot, turn number 9. Was already about 22 seconds back from Terry Crouch, but having a problem on exit. Let's see what happened here to the 54 Rich D PC machines, maintaining the second spot for now. Let's see what happens. Coming up the hill, the exit of the boot, turn number 9. And what did we talk about earlier about following the GT car through?
God, it might even be the same GT car.
It is the same. It was another Ferrari. It was definitely a GT car, and it was the same one. And we went wide. Kevin Blue followed him through, and he does get a piece of the Armco. Not significant. Hopefully not enough for him to come back down pit lane and lose that third position. He's got 20 seconds still on Chris Generelli with just over 15 minutes to go. He's going to have to get by this GT car again as he does it with ease through the carousel.
You know, I'm watching his stream right now, Steve, and his wheel is straight, so I'm thinking he can stay out. Problem.
So Kevin Blue dodging a major bullet, it looks like. He's going to be okay, I think. We'll have to watch his lap times for a couple here and see how this one pans out. Back to where he was, behind another GT car. I bet she was having a flashback there.
Boy, same spot, too.
That was Chris Goins in the Popple Porsche.
Popple Porsche? Boy, that's got a ring to it.
It does. So Kevin Blue, this lap, 134.61. It's about 1.3 off the race leader, Terry Crouch, but still faster than Chris Generelli. Doesn't need to worry too much here. If he can just maintain that pace to the finish, he'll be just fine to take home a runner-up finish here at the Glen.
Well, and you'd like to see it for Kevin Blue, too. How many times this season has he had a strong run and maybe ran into some bad luck or and just, you know, kind of ends up finishing not where he really deserves to?
You know, I think a lot of it just has to do with being able to put the time in to practice. Kevin Blue has shown a lot of pace. He's been awfully quick when I've been on the racetrack with him on road courses. He's certainly going to be quicker than me in an LMP. I'm not great in these cars at all. But places like Spa, he's been quick at. Sebring, he's been fast. Obviously here at the Glen, everybody loves the Glen just because most of us are probably NASCAR fans anyway. But we do like running some of these road course races. Kevin Blue, of course, one of them. I don't think he needed to put a whole lot of practice in here this week. He's just had good pace.
Yeah, not to mention he's pretty much running the league at the same time, so he got all that stress along with it.
Well, it's stress. It's a time commitment. Plus, he's got a family. He's got kids. He's got a regular job, like a lot of us do. It's tough going. All in the name of good fun, right?
Absolutely.
Watch Kevin Blue cross the stripe here once again. His lap time, minute 34.56, only half a tenth slower than his previous. As Dave Seats hits pit lane.
Here we go.
Let's see how long this one takes. Does he go fuel only? Last stop was a 29.85, so that was almost definitely a tire change. Into the box, clean, locks him up. Stays on the ground, fuel only for Dave Seats. Meanwhile, Chris Generelli not able to make it to the end. He's in the pits as well. 13.93 seconds. Much faster stop for Dave Seats. Leaving pit lane here, 43.44. For Josh Heggie was 49. Now Seats comes out 45.10. We'll see how close the deficit is. It's about 6 seconds. So as we talked about, it was pretty accurate as far as pit lane time versus pit lane time. Remember, Heggie was stuck behind Rob Henry there for a little bit, knowing Henry had to pit. He got his pit stop taken care of there at lap 43.
You talk about the prime definition of a money stop. That was it.
He's got himself a decent gap back to P2, 6.1 seconds. Remember, prior to those pit stops, Heggie was all over the back bumper of Dave Seats. Now he's just got to keep it clean here for, well, about 11 and a half minutes. Take home this win. We'll try to get you guys championship results sooner than later here at the conclusion of this race. They're going to mention it here in the stream chat. That way we know who to interview on top of our race winners, which it very well could be the same people. We'll see. In all reality, I'm pretty sure Terry Crouch has this one locked up. Again, looking at the LMP2 points coming into tonight, that's not it. That's better. Terry Crouch had a narrow margin over Flo Doms. With Flo Doms out of this, Chris Generelli having his issues, Terry Crouch just needs to get this one wrapped up here, and he's going to have a title in hand. And checking on GT, Dave Seats came in with a point lead, a considerable margin over Brian Zinn. Zinn back running in the 4th position in GT in the race. So Seats just got to be calm, careful, collected, not get caught up in a major incidents. Should be just fine. So as it stands right now, if the race were to finish at this very moment, Terry Crouch and Dave Seats both would end up taking the championships in their respective classes.
Could be a TLDR sweep.
Which it's happened so much this season already, we're not surprised to see something like that.
No, not a bit.
Less than 10 minutes to go here from Watkins Glen. We've run 51 laps already on the long course. That's moving right along. Again, no full course cautions here, local yellows only. Lee Tucker running 4th in LMP. Chris Generelli still back in 5th after his issue coming out of the boot. Josh Heggie having some connection issues. We've seen that a couple of times. Drew Prowl coming out of the S's, giving plenty of room to the LMP traffic. Minutes remaining here from the Glen. Terry Crouch, your overall leader and LMP2. GT3, it's still David Seats having a great season, trying to cap it off here with a race win and a championship. Crouch with a 33-second advantage over the next closest contender. That's Kevin Blue. Dave Seats 8 seconds ahead of Josh Heggie. And then 3rd place, Kevin Burrows. He's just got to take it easy here. He can almost give up a couple of spots as long as he finishes ahead of Brian Zinn. Honestly, even if he's 5th, if Brian Zinn's only 1 position ahead of him, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, Terry Crouch is doing exactly what he had to do tonight.
Well, I mean, he didn't really have to win, but that's just Terry Crouch doing Terry Crouch things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Headlights on for all these race cars at this stage of the race. Again, the sun was setting. Now it's just about set. Pink cotton candy sky here at the Glen, as those of you who have been to the racetrack overnight, such a very common thing to see, especially in the summer months. I've only seen these IMSA race cars run laps at the Glen in this type of condition. It was still at the end of COVID during the WeatherTech 240. It was the week after the IMSA Salem 6 hours at the Glen. A week later, they ran the WeatherTech 240 in replacement of their Canadian Tire Motorsports Park race that they were not able to run, again, due to COVID restrictions up in Canada. So we went back the next week for a 240-minute race. Certainly a sprint in comparison to the 6-hour, but it started late in the day and ended under the lights as Andy Spicer goes around exiting the boot. A little bit of contact to the Armco. Tough part here is traffic approaching, cannot see him. he's really got to pay attention to the relative here, and he's just going to tow it back to pits.
But it's really doing the rest of the field a solid right there, because that's a pretty tough spot to back out. Really, no matter what you do, is going to be in traffic.
Spicer was in 7th, a couple of laps down anyway. Again, you'll see here in the LMP2 classification, Chris Goins listed as P8. That is not the case. He's not in an LMP2. He's in a Porsche this week. Started the season in an LMP. Oh, we got a car spinning out of turn 1. It's Dalton Powell. He just goes straight to pit lane.
Kind of spicy at the end of this here, Steve.
Well, worn tires. Track's cooling off a little bit more. And track temperature very close to air temperature, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Four minutes remain here from the Glen as we watch Kevin Blue go around Jesse Redding. Blue still running in that second spot overall. A super strong run for the 54, even with his issue chasing that GT machine up out of the boot, getting into the wall. Didn't panic, able to recover quickly. Terry Crouch just very stout. Kevin was able to hang with him there for a little while in the first third of this race, but having his issues. Brian Zinn still running in the 4th spot, second in points tonight, 30 seconds back. Drew Prowl getting a piece of the wall and the exit of turn 11. Two and a half minutes left here from the Glen. James Koulibaly in the 6th position in LMP, chasing that same Ferrari through. Got to be careful here. Things bad luck, man.
That is the danger zone right there.
It's Drew Hopkins in the Ferrari. Nothing against Drew. It's just it's been just coincidental. The times that he's gone off track there in that same corner, he's had an LMP2 machine behind him that's just followed him into the fence.
Maybe it has something to do with this car being the same color as the Armco. I don't know. There's something happening there.
Not sure if the leaders have taken the white flag yet. There's a minute and a half remaining. This very well could be 2 laps to go. Terry Crouch just getting down into the heel. I don't think he's seen the white just yet. Could be this time by. We'll keep a close eye on that. White flag in the air for race leader Terry Crouch. Last lap here from the Glen. Less than 1 minute remains. Nick Matthews flashing the brights at Terry Crouch as he goes on by.
Little congrats.
Again, a 90-minute race. This was a tough one for a lot of guys. Extra half hour makes a big difference. Terry Crouch into the carousel for the final time. Sparks flying out from underneath that LMP2 machine.
Come on, Terry, get that fast lap.
You know he's going to go for it. His best lap so far, minute 32:31. We'll see if he knocks it off here in the final time. He's got some GT traffic to contend with here. The Mercedes going to be in the braking zone here. It's not going to help his corner.
What he sent it.
Already flashing his lights in excitement. Terry Crouch out of turn 11, celebrating a race win here from Watkins Glen. Checkered flag in the air. He wins the race and the championship. Terry Crouch with the win in LMP2. Dave Seats still well ahead of second place Josh Heggie. Out of the toe. Down the sole of the boot into the heel. Just needs to cruise here for a couple more corners. Dave Seats will do the same. Race win and a title. And there you have it. Checkered flag in the air for GT3. Dave Seats is going to win it. Down the main straightaway, Josh Heggie, 8 seconds, now 10 seconds back. He's going to finish in P2. Kevin Burrows out of turn 11. He'll take the third place. Terry Crouch doesn't even do the cool down. He just parks it on corner exit. Does not get the fast lap on his final. It was a minute 32:78. Terry Crouch with your race win, having some issues with the overlay once again, not unrendering certain things.
See those flashing headlights in the distance? I believe that's Chris Goins flipping through the air.
Let's get a look at it before we go to break. Oh,
Little love tap.
Kevin Blue just giving him a big push down the backstretch on the final lap of the final race of the season.
A little more coming, too, at the end of this.
All right, so Goins, he's got a padiddle going here on the Porsche. Oh, he skips it.
Yes, he does. He's in hunting mode.
Going down.
Topple porch. Bam.
Massive impact. Well, that's going to wrap it up from Watkins Glen here. We're going to step aside, get a break out of the way, be back with our race winners and champions after this. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
I met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Back at Watkins Glen International, the final race of the PFR Sports Car Championship, round number 12, a 90-minute sprint race for double points. Terry Crouch takes the win in LMP2 and the title. Let's try and pull Terry up into the broadcast booth and get a word with our race winner and champion, Terry Crouch. It's Steve and Zach in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, how you boys doing?
We're doing well, sir. Congratulations. An awesome run here tonight. Started P3. Flo had his problems. Let's walk through that first, because you barely missed barreling into that incident, exited turn 10 into 11. Walk us through what happened there.
Well, that sucks for Flo. I mean, he was so fast. I was not going to push anything tonight. I was like, if I'm running second tonight, that's all I need. So I wasn't going to do anything crazy. And I didn't quite see what caused the incident. I didn't know which way Flo was going, but at some point I just saw smoke and parts flying and cars flying, and I did the Days of Thunder, just aim at the smoke and lock them up for a second and then go and pray, and thank goodness it worked.
Well, in watching the replay, he went driver's right to a GT car on the exit of turn 10, but that GT car was all the way over onto the rumble strip. Just got too wide. Don't think he saw Flo there, and it is what it is. They made contact, and both drivers heavy impact into the arm go.
Yeah, that sucks. There's a few times tonight where, I had a couple sins, but in general, it's so tough. The closing rate is so fast at a lot of these corners that you just hope guys see you and try not to, be in a spot where they can kill you when they don't see you.
Well, with that said, be glad it's a sim. Everybody walks away without injury. You take the race win and the title. Kevin Blue says in the stream chat, he says you could have given the league admin a race win,
I thought about it, but he'd like it, but he wouldn't really. He'd know, and I guys are kind of both ways on that. Some would like it, and some are like, well, that's not right.
No, you want to win because you won. You don't want to win because someone handed it to you. At least that's my stance on it. I know all the times I try to race against Zach Millett. It's frustrating, but it's tough to beat Zach, and I don't want him to give it to me, but just don't show up. If you're there in the race, okay, fine, you're going to beat me, but it is what it is.
Exactly. Zach, come on, man. We haven't raced in forever.
I know, man. It's been way too long.
Well,
just can't do it in those boats on road courses.
Tell you, we found something pretty fun there. We tried the Gen 4 Cup cars over at Nuremberg. Might have to start a league up with those babies.
Yeah, I'll join it and then not show up like you did.
Well, Terry, again, congratulations, man. Another awesome win here tonight. You take the championship. No talk about next week because, well, there isn't a next week. There might be another series, another league in the future. We'll see. Hopefully, you TLDR boys decide to show up and run that with us here. It's been a blast to have you out here. Congratulations. Anything else that you want to throw in here? Who do you want to thank? I know you got the family and everybody in the TLDR SimSport guys, but it's your last chance of the season, man. What do you got?
Yeah, I feel like these drag on a little too long, but since it's the last one, the wife for letting me do this and spending ungodly amounts of money on this just in the effort of trying to gain a 10th. Somehow she understands it. The daughter, she's always watching, and boys at TLDR, again, it sucks with Flo, but Kevin and Dave out there tonight was really fun. Sucks Elliot couldn't make it. It was a little late for him. Sponsors of GSI and Kevin Blue and this league, the effort they put in to put something together. And sometimes Blue and I have a little wine session because I'm like, why are you changing this? But I know he's always changing things in the instance, or in the effort of making it better for the group. So he's got something really good that he's building here. It's really cool, and of course you guys for broadcasting this thing all season. It's quite a production. Really good.
Well, we certainly do our best, Terry. We do appreciate those kind words. Anything worth doing is worth doing right,
Heck yeah, you do it very right, my friend.
Well, Terry Crouch, again, thank you again. Congratulations. We wish you the best of luck in endeavors going forward, whether it's here, there, or anywhere else. Glad to have you here, man. Good season. Congratulations.
Thanks, boys. Hopefully we talk again in the future.
Terry Crouch, your race winner and champion in LMP2. Next up, it's going to be David Seitz this week in the Mercedes, another TLDR SimSport driver. And that changed throughout the course of the season, picking up a TLDR SimSport livery here halfway through the season. It's Dave Seitz. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Dave, congratulations, man. Last time we saw you, well, it was in person, and ironically, here at the Glen. You take the race win here tonight and the championship in GT3. I know this is a special place for a lot of us, it being somewhat close to you, myself, Zach Millett. I know it's a special place for you. Obviously, you ran very well here tonight. Walk us through your preparations in coming into this race this evening in your pursuit of a title.
Well, first and foremost, I had to get out of my own head, and win, lose, or draw, I was going back to the AMG. Like, the car was so good for me all season, then I kept thinking, like, well, what's the better car? And it just wasn't working out for me. So no matter what, I was going back to this. And I had to get autism awareness on the TLDR paint. So that was the first prep, and then from there, going into this, I was more just, I needed a clean race. I wasn't going to battle anybody super hard, just run my race. I just needed to finish in the vicinity of Zinn, and we would clinch the championship, and that was what I was going after. And then the straight line speed on the Merc just seemed to be able to hold people off going up the hill, and then at the end of the race there, I was able to conserve tires in that mid stint, so I didn't have to take any, and got us to the checkered first, and that's how we got there.
Well, it was certainly an impressive run. Of course, you started, I think it was P4 here tonight. Didn't have a great qualifying effort, but it worked out. It was not long before you put the Mercedes out in front. And Zach and I talked about that, how a lot of drivers in this particular league had the opportunity to change cars throughout the course of the season, even change classes if they really wanted to. I was very surprised to see you make the switch from the Mercedes, given the pace and the luck. Not so much the luck, but the pace that you had throughout the season, making those changes and ultimately coming back to it. I'm not surprised. Personally, I'm partial to the Mercedes when I'm running the GT3 car. I think Zach kind of felt the same way, even though he was kind of partial to the Audi at the time, but it's probably just because he's got one. But nonetheless, a smart move going back to it.
Oh, I definitely am partial to Audi too. I also own an Audi, but it's just this Merc, the engine note is just, it's on point. Like, it's a pleasure to drive just because of how it sounds. So,
well, with that said, one way or the other, whether it's in a Mercedes or an Audi or a Porsche or Ferrari, whatever it ends up being, Dave Seats, you are the PFR Sports Car Championship GT3 champion. Who do you have to thank before we let you go?
First and foremost, you guys open the booth every week. You come here, you shoutcast us going around on the track, and appreciate it. You guys do a hell of a job. Kevin Blue for putting on the stream, and the sponsors of the league and the sponsors, Rich DPC and WJM. And then on my car, I got to thank my boys at Limitless for the beginning of the season, running with me, and then mid-season switching over to the TLDR guys, and they've all been super supportive and helpful. And then I got my sponsors, Mishmash Gaming and Full Sun Graphics.
Well, that settles it. Dave Seats, again, congratulations on a race win and a championship. Wrapping it up here from Watkins Glen, man. Thanks for talking to us. Look forward to seeing you in the next season.
Sounds good, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Dave Seats, your race winner and champion. I can't really think of a better place to wrap up the season. I know Formula One wrapped up their season here a time or two. Why not do it here in the PFR Sports Car Championship,
Yeah, this is the best place to do it, man. I love this place.
Well, with that said, let's take a look at our official race results. Of course, we talked to our race winners, and here it is. That's practice results, as I always do with this particular league, but nonetheless, we'll switch it up. Terry Crouch, of course, your race winner. Kevin Blue was second, Brandon Domain, Lee Tucker, Chris Generelli, your top five. Just curious to see how things would have panned out if Generelli didn't have that incident out of turn 9. He seemed to have the strategy lined up. It just didn't pan out. James Coulibaly was 6th. Andy Spicer was 7th. Chris Goins shown as 8th. Again, he is a GT machine, not an LMP2, so disregard that entirely. Sean Roberts was 8th. Flo Doms officially finishes in the 9th position in LMP. And we'll switch it over to the GT category. Dave Seats, of course, your race winner. Josh Hagee finishes second, 10 seconds back. That difference was all in the pit cycle. Kevin Burrows was third. Brian Zinn was fourth. Rob Henry fifth. Mike Piazza finishes in the sixth spot. Joe Tucker was seventh. Eighth position was Drew Hopkins. Nick Batista was ninth. Jesse Redding finishes in the 10th position. And we've got more to go through, but again, it's not cooperating. There we go. 11th was Drew Peral. 12th was Nick Matthews. Dalton Powell, 13th. Daniel Clark was 14th. And Mike Hamlin, 15th. Those numbers may change slightly as Chris Goins is in the middle there somewhere, but again, classified as LMP2 as that's where he started his season at. So nonetheless, plus or minus one position in GT, it is what it is. But that wraps it up for us here at the Glen in the PFR Sports Car Championship. Thank you guys all for tuning in. If you haven't already done so, again, like the stream. We do appreciate that significantly. That's a big help for us. And check out the website, hbrtv1.com. You should have the ability to check out the day's live stream, if I remember to put it up on the website. There's race photographs that pop up there on occasion. Also some racing-style logos that you can use for your iRacing paint jobs if you guys are into that sort of thing. If you've got a paint scheme that you're working on and you have had to make or find a rare paint scheme, or rare logo, for instance, send it to us at HBR here in the Discord. We'll put it up on the website so that others can have access to it if you so choose. I'm all for helping people out. I'm not going to charge for that sort of thing, so if you've got one and you want to share it, let us know and we'll post it up on the website. Zach, before we get out of here, what's your final thoughts on the evening?
Man, I think it was a great finale to this awesome league. You know, the PFR Sim Sports League. It's really shown to be kind of a growing league. It's wicked competition, man. I really hope they continue to get another league going here, and I really hope to be a part of it in the broadcast booth with you, man. It's been a blast. Yeah, we certainly do appreciate you being here when your work schedule permits it. Always help to have a second guy in the broadcast booth, especially on these road courses. It's not door-to-door action every single lap. It's a different style of racing, and that's a good thing. I've grown up watching NASCAR on the ovals. I've grown up watching sports car racing here, especially at the Glen, being an hour and a half from where I live. Strategy plays a big part of it. Obviously, pace matters as well, but very different things. You got to have something to talk about and just ways to analyze each race. And to have a second guy in the booth, it makes a massive difference, and we certainly do appreciate it. So with that, that's going to wrap it up. For Zach Millett, I'm Steve Singer, congratulating Terry Crouch and Dave Seats, both champions here in the PFR Sports Car Championship. Thanks for watching this season, guys. We'll see you at the next one.